today's one is the 1st of the month, so this is going to go public on YouTube when we put it there. So the same thing. If you want me to stop recording at any time, please just say something. But if you feel the need to stop recording, then that's certainly something worth questioning too.
I guess it's easy to hurt someone when you are honest on that level that we are honest here.
And conversely, there are a lot of people who might stumble across it. It's actually very, very encouraging that I get feedback from people who watch this and go, wow, this is a unique thing where people can talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's totally unique. Like everything, there's no need, all the other things sort of just dropped. There's only this for me, you know, unless if I can't make it, I've been listening to little by little the past ones, and just
I don't even try to work out just what it is. You know, is it the authenticity that is really good, or is it just talking about stuff that we can't normally talk about? Because
a mixture of both, because so often it's people saying what it is, but here it's, I think, in a more abstract way, whereas here it's everyone's sharing their personal experience and you know, how they're experiencing, and there's just an authenticity and a reality to it that you can relate. It's not abstract or, I mean, of course, in a way that's no one else. You know, mostly they're just single people who are talking. I would say Pernille, wouldn't include her in, because she's also has a unique approach, which is so real. But a lot of the other people that I used to listen to is just, I can't even engage in it now.
Yeah, the difference is people talking about something at almost at a philosophical level as compared to something very real. Yeah. And for new people, it takes a fair bit of courage to start talking about what's actually going on for them. So people are learning to separate relating to stories to connect with what's actually going on for them. Yeah. So one thought I had about this morning that I you know, these things just pop into your head, but one of the things that popped into my head was that, how to put it, when somebody is seduced into being engaging with the content of the story rather than seeing the effect of the story, that's a big one. So learning to kind of take that step back out of the story and recognize just what's actually happening is a bit of a trick for how can I put it, beginning people.
Certainly. I mean, I really related to the conversation last week. Jenny, you were talking about the closing, you know, feeling closing in, and that was really going on for me a lot over the last week or 10 days, and sort of like storylines sort of, you know, vaguely hovering around, and then just finally really being able to get into deeper sensations and sitting with it, and then with with that being possible, whereas somehow it wasn't really possible before. It was a sort of loop of sensations. There was just you know, a whole different experience showed itself.
And did that change your experience throughout the week?
It just was immediate almost. It was finding, yes, it was it just was, this was recent, though this week it was a sort of closed in gray, I don't want to be here type of feeling. I mean, yeah, that's really, it's just not right. Nothing seems right. And then it's funny, things often happen in the middle of the night. I wake up and then I can't go back to sleep, and I just sort of sitting there and saying, okay, come on, you know, what needs to come forward, in just relying there, relaxed and feeling. And then there was, I could get in touch with this sensation that really needed to be felt, and there was just a general letting go, and it was like immediately the mood shifted, the weather shifted. And what it was exactly, I don't really know.
Yep.
Old patterns that that are the embedded ones that aren't really verbalized, that still seem to play.
I imagine that what happens when we are going off to sleep, or if we wake up in the middle of the night, or even when we're waking up in the morning, that's a slightly different one, that the filters are relaxed, you know, and consequently stuff can, how can I put it, percolate from the subconscious a bit easier. And for some, that's a pretty scary thing, because they feel like they're out of control, but for others it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I had one thing, I think it was about 10 days ago, because I never was a very grounded person. I was sort of mental and very I suppose somewhat dissociated habits, and so I've been gradually the seeing, the first seeing and the other ones, each time it's like, oh, finally coming back into the body. That was, but I've been sort of reclaiming feet upwards to the, you know, to the torso, and I had a lot of fear just inhabiting the feet and the legs, and I could really feel, I've been doing that exercise for a long time, but I hadn't got in touch with like an emotional resistance of being, and so that's been really interesting, sort of being able to be more and more present. And I had a lot of fear sensation when I was doing the sort of direct experience of just seeing and being able to see, and then feeling that I was being seen, and it was terrifying. It took really quite a while to relax into that.
Yeah, it's almost like discovering a new person.
Yeah, it's, I mean, incredible what one shuts off, this sort of subtle sense, or this filter on the seeing. It's like, it's not really explainable, but just being sort of so open to be seen by, not be seen, but be fully in the seeing experience.
being unprotected.
Yes, yeah.
Mm. So how do you respond to seeing people around you that was weird, living in a dream, living like they're living in a movie?
I still, I can still find that quite difficult, especially with my husband, who I'm looking after, who's not well. And he is very much, and I have to do a lot of doing all day long, running up and down, and sometimes it's not done properly, and that can be, it can be, I can easily get switched. I haven't been able to find what, is that triggers to the, I mean, I'm conscious of it and I can bring myself back, but I definitely jump out.
Yes.
A lot with other people when there's a pointing to me as a doer and a responsible, or not doing things properly, or being criticized. Sometimes that can be, there's work to do there to see.
Don't think of it as work. And the other thing that it's natural that you've got a lifetime of habit. So that moment to celebrate is the moment when you recognize what's going on. And if you can really highlight that moment, they happen faster and faster until eventually they don't happen because they don't need to happen. You're already in there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Yeah, people get disappointed frequently. They'll get disappointed when they discover that they're not in that present state, so to speak. But
it just needs to come back.
Yeah.
It's just a needing to come back into.
Well, the irony is that the moment that they get disappointed is the moment they realize that they were lost, when of course that's the very moment that needs to be celebrated because they've recognized it.
Yeah.
It is quite funny when you catch yourself doing, let's say, things, being lost, and then you observe yourself being carried out, for example, carried out by emotions or anger or whatever, and you just look at yourself and you start laughing. This is hilarious.
It is, yeah. But when we see other people being lost in anger, it's harder to laugh. It's like it's not something to celebrate. There's something to feel sad about, perhaps.
Yeah, but sometimes you do laugh.
Yeah,
and that is very socially unacceptable. which is again very funny.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I definitely have there's an old pattern of having unacceptable behavior, which is still functioning. And so when there's the letting go and the inappropriate things come out, like the laughing or the lightheartedness, which is inappropriate. I mean, that's another big thing. What you do. It's like a double bind, because there's the freedom and then there's the pattern that says, oh, you're inappropriate again. So
I don't know how you guys might eventuate in that one, but I have a history of laughing inappropriately or saying something that's controversial in company, but I don't care. I quite enjoy it these days. If somebody's shocked, I find that a good thing.
I find it so hard because my husband, he has motor neuron disease, which is the most horrible, horrible illness to have, because although he has no ability to do anything for himself, and so it is a really miserable state. And of course, it's the denial and the resistance to it is so strong, and so it's very hard to. There's this adjustment always into what his experience, and then another experience that somehow that I can see is also going on, and trying to sort of and not trying to, but the lightness that can come, the jokes that can come, and then it's
Yeah.
the lack of the being accused of lack of empathy or compassion or whatever, all
It's a big one.
inappropriateness that comes, and it's quite a sort of razor edge.
Yep.
To be on.
I don't know, because it's not something I've experienced, but I rather imagine that somebody that is, how can I put it, kind of trapped in the body like that, trapped in a body that refuses to function according to normal standards, or according to
how it used to.
Yes, that's right, how it used to. Society tells us we have to be somber about such things.
Yes.
And it does seem like a lack of compassion, but without experiencing that ourselves, any compassion that we have it's tricky, isn't it? Because we can have compassion for their frustration, we can have compassion for the suffering that they're going through. But if we get lost in the same story and say, well, it's not the way it should be, that doesn't help anybody, does it? And yet that's
No,
what
it really
society
doesn't.
demands of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's possible to feed into somebody in that state the possibility that they can be okay with it in spite of its horribleness.
That's not going to be listened to or coming from me. I can't, it would be good if that would be possible, but I think that that's where each person is,
Yeah, sure. I wonder if it's possible to find somebody who your husband or the sick person would have sufficient respect for, that could offer them that opportunity to consider possibility of, because we ourselves, as spouses, as family, we're not listened to, we're not seen as having authority or respect that in that way. Tricky situation, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
And I have compassion for you, even though I don't know what you're going through, but I feel that burden in your life is heavy, but it is also a fantastic opportunity in spite of it.
Yeah.
What comes up for me in that is because everything I'm perceiving is the reaction over here. So it would be riding the roller coaster of my responses to the response of what other. So it's actually clearing out anything that's not okay with everything, even the other not being okay. So when they're not okay, what does that stir here? What does that activate over here? When they are okay, it's activated over here. Everything that happens seemingly out there is really a mirroring activation here. So ultimately, ultimately, as all that's seen and processed, for lack of a better word, then I'm okay with ultimately everything. I'm okay with him being mad. I'm okay with him being happy. I'm okay with him being upset. I'm okay with him telling me I'm inappropriate. Like, because anything that activates over here is in this system. There's nothing out
Yes.
there happening that's not okay. Unless this system says it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was very much what was going on until the release of finding the part that the sensation, there was a not okay sensation that was somehow of resistance, obviously, and then it was felt and the released, and then there's more okayness, you know. So it's absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything becomes access to my freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get really confused about the whole mirroring thing, you know.
So say
Maybe.
more about that mirroring thing.
The whatever you're feeling inside, whatever you're seeing out here, whatever is happening into the world, out in the world is actually you. What's happening inside of you, you're mirroring what's in you.
Yeah.
Well, it's because I'm the perceiver.
Right.
So I'm only seeing through the filters of unintegrated energy if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When I'm at peace, then I'm just seeing. But if it's uncomfortable, then I'm seeing through the filter of an unintegrated energy.
Or put that more practically, through the filter of a story,
Yeah.
something you're telling yourself, how
Yeah.
wrong it is, or how sad it is, or how whatever.
Yeah. How wrong they are, how they offended me, how sad it is, how it should be different. All unintegrated energies that stories come from, or which, I don't know which come first, the unintegrated energies of the stories, probably the stories
Yeah.
made unintegrated energies, whatever. Yeah.
So the confusion for you, Lisa, is that you, well, you tell me where is the confusion?
It makes me feel like it's my fault. Like I just need to
Right.
have a positive attitude or think, you know, because that whole I was raised with the
Yeah.
toxic positivity, you know, change your attitude and everything will be just fine. Think more positive,
Yeah.
you know.
I call that slap on happy. Just slap it right on over everything. But it's really not about being happy. It's about feeling.
Yeah.
I
Could be about losing an attitude.
say
Well, you
again.
can't,
I said it could be about losing an attitude. Just
right, but
leaving
what
it.
happens is I used to call it Saint Jenny Jesus, where I would effort to lose the attitude so that I could be at peace and all that responsible stuff. And now it's not about being happy or peaceful or what attitude happens. What arises, and it's all about becoming aware and present and feeling what is arising, the authentic truth of what is arising, not changing attitudes.
No, but the thing is that the attitude is an effort. When you lose the attitude, you actually are not making an effort to be in any attitude.
Yeah.
Unless you get, I'm sorry. Yeah, I would get in a double bind where I would get into my head, and I knew that if I could lose the attitude that it was exhausting me, the attitude. So then I would get in a double bind where the mind would try to lose the attitude because it knew that it was best to lose the attitude. And then I was just like in this double bind. I had attitude and which is effort, and the effort to lose the attitude on top of it, trying to control it.
Yes, we have that. We probably all have somebody in our life, and In my case, I'm thinking of my wife, where I often say that she thinks that she controls the world. She thinks that if she lets go, the world will go to shit because it needs to be controlled. Well, yeah. But what comes up for me here is that we can, let's say we see a story that we're involved with that's causing suffering, then the initial response once we see that happening is to say, well, we need to stop the story in order to not feel that way. That's not the appropriate way to go, because that's where resistance comes in. That's where efforting comes in that you're talking about. The fact that the story is there needs to be celebrated as an opportunity. The fact that we've seen that we're lost in that story. We're not trying to change the story. We're not trying to stop it, although in the background we do want it to not happen. But that's not our initial aim. The most appropriate response to it is to celebrate the fact that we've seen it happening. I'll repeat myself with this one again and again, because it's a trick, because the moment we say it shouldn't be there, we're just as involved in it as if we're totally lost. It's controlling us, right? We don't control the thoughts that come up. They're there because of conditioning. The nature of them is the way it is because of conditioning, mostly. So all we need to do, all we want to do, is to recognize that they're happening. And if we can love the fact that it happened because of the opportunity that it presents, it's much more likely to change than if we try to push it away. What we resist, we make stronger. So trying to push it away is just as involved in it as being lost in it, but just in a slightly different way.
Yeah, and I would get caught in that good, bad, right, wrong.
It's a natural thing, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
what we've learned.
yeah. So now when I just watch it, then my focus is when something comes up, drop into the body, and
Yeah.
what's the response happening in the body, and that let's go to the story.
Yeah.
Because now it's come out of the head.
Well, for some that can be a bit difficult because what's in the body is not pleasant.
No,
There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of, wow, it feels like somebody recently said it feels like they've got a nest of hornets in them. And, I can relate
Yeah,
to
that's
I can remember moments when that happened. Yeah. And it's really hard to welcome that as an opportunity, but that's what it is. It's an opportunity. Yeah.
well, that seems to be for me the core of where all of the stories are spinning off of. Is
yeah,
that
that's the same for me, Jenny, too. And talking about effort, in fact, one doesn't, I mean, for me, I'm in a story, the closing in, and it would be an effort to try and get out of it. So it's just, okay, sit with this. This is a fine. I'll sit with this for the rest of my life. And then finding that place where, oh, this wants to be felt. And then all of a sudden this release, and only then really is the effort shown that it was there. You can't find it before. It's only afterwards, and you see, oh, what a load that somehow evaporated.
Yeah, when my walls were closing in, and what was happening is my distractions stopped working, because I'd get up and I'd scroll, or I'd get up and go do some work, or I'd go trim the hedges, eat anything, go take a nap, but they stopped working. And that's when I felt like, okay, this is the end. These walls are closing in. And it was so automatic to just get up. It didn't seem like effort. I would just get up and go do something and distract. And so then I was sitting there just being quiet with stillness, and it started. You need to get up and go do something. And I go, oh my goodness. And I saw it. I saw it beyond the sensations, the labels called anxiousness or distraction or busy. I just saw it. It's like this urge, and boy, it was like, get up now, don't go there. And it was in the beginning, it was like painful, like, I don't know, not painful, but just like just too much. And I just sat there anyway, and I just kept breathing through it. And then it just got lighter and lighter. And then it was like, oh, I'm sitting here, I'm not getting up, it's okay. And then I was just like in the middle of it, but there wasn't all that resistance anymore. And then it moved. And now it's like, oh my goodness, I can sit around and do nothing now. It's like all that tension that was there, now it's showing up as these jumpy legs. I get jumpy legs, and they'll like twitch, and I'm like, okay, I guess we'll just sit with jumpy legs. But it's so annoying, and and the muscles want to cramp in them, and I'm like, God dang, so I still have some resistance to it because it's uncomfortable.
It can
It's
become quite
interesting.
scary.
Go,
I've
Sam.
had the leg thing going on too, and I never thought that it might have something to do with this.
Yeah.
It shows up when I'm quiet and sitting in stillness, and when I just breathe and I connect my breath and I'm just sitting with that. Usually it happens at night, not so much I do it twice in the morning, and usually at night it happens. I'll be sitting there on the couch and I'll be circling my breathing, being with the moment, being present, and my legs start doing this, and I'm like, oh, dang it. Yeah. Mm.
So
What were you?
that's an interesting one too, that without realizing it, the thing that arrives, the need to do something else, right? As you recognize it as a distraction, but they can be really seductive stories, because those things that come to mind are things that probably actually do need doing or do want to be done. And so there's a good story about doing them without realizing that what we're doing is simply distracting from the discomfort that would happen if we did nothing, if we didn't go off and do that distracting thing. So we've got the stories that are uncomfortable, and then we've got these other stories that turn up that say, oh, the dishes need washing, you've got to wash the dishes, and it's really hard to say, I won't do that, because what's happening is the inclination to be distracted from what's uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my case, it was a fear. It was fear coming towards me from every single direction, and it was unbearable. And obviously, there was searching for any distraction. But it was coming at night as well. So you really have a problem with finding distraction at 3 a.m. Apart from turning on TV and trying to focus on that shit that is played at this hour. So it's hard to do that. So you scroll whatever you are scrolling. It needs recognizing that these are distractions and you are running away from the fear, and recognizing that fear and staying with it. And there's absolutely no other way. And I would point to one very, very important thing. I think that this is, you need to recognize if this, in my case, it was fear. And what I did, I recognized that fear doesn't come from anything and anywhere. It is just fear. It is not that I am afraid of anything. First is fear, and then there are attached to it labels. Labels keep on attaching to it. So I feel fear, there is fear, and then I fear Russians. I fear that I'm gonna die. I'm fear that I'm in fear that my firm, that my company won't start properly. Anything.
Yes.
And
Yes.
these things may happen and may not, but the fear is a problem. So
Yeah.
I treated the fear like a subject, like an object, sorry, like an object. And I addressed the fear. I faced the fear itself, not the fear of anything, and nothing like that. The fear itself, the feeling of the fear. And when I stayed with it, it started melting. And you just need to keep on recognizing that fear, not paying attention to any object, but
Yep.
to the fear. And in my case, it was a blessing, really. I just cured myself, so to speak, obviously. But that fear went away and never came back, really. When it comes back, it is just a mild
An old remnant.
sensation that again needs recognizing and staying with it, and it just goes away.
Yeah,
it just goes away.
Fear is a particularly, well, I say difficult one, but yeah, the unattached fear. So we call it fear, and that's already a bit of a problem, because it objectifies it as something which it's not. But the fact that it has it's the mind that comes in later that wants to, that's the nature of the mind that wants to explain, wants to give it
Exactly.
reasons and attach stories to why,
Yeah.
and to justify it almost, the mind does that. But that unattached fear can oh, how can I put it? It can be a whole body thing. It can be so big and complete that it's like it's everywhere. It's in every cell of our body, kind of thing. And so it
And
has
it can kill you.
importance. It's absolutely huge. Yeah.
Yeah. It can literally kill you.
Yes. Yes, I imagine people can have heart attacks or whatever as a result of it. Yeah.
I was really close to that, really.
Oh.
Whatever was happening, I was not in a very bad situation, life situation. It was difficult, obviously. I wouldn't have problems if it wasn't, I guess. But there are people that's another point. There are people that have difficulties with dealing with fear, and they have no problems whatsoever, apart from having a problem with a fear.
Yeah.
So
Adrenaline junkies, maybe.
Exactly. Whatever, really, depressed people, for example, right? Schizophrenics. There are certain conditions that evoke fear without any substantial reason, let's say. And this is a pointer to the fact that the fear is independent from whatever, from anything. It just is. And this fear needs to be addressed, not the issues. The issues will be addressed better without fear. That's absolutely obvious to anyone, really, that when you're acting from the, let's say, fear base, you're not going to come up with solutions that are really good. You need to be calm and intelligent to deal with anything, and fear just blinds you. So this is not the best way to deal with anything, really anything. Apart from just run away from a tiger, right? But this is just not the fear that we are feeling. This is a chronic fear, I'd say. And this needs, the more you distract yourself from it, the more it just knocks on the back door of your body, mind, whatever. And this just needs to be looked at. And whatever you are doing, if you are drugging yourself with antidepressants, if you are drinking to to unconsciousness, if you are watching Netflix forever, or you're scrolling Twitter or whatever, really, this is just going to turn up the knob of the fear.
Yeah.
This is my so to speak story with a fear.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it to anyone, but it really is that simple and that difficult as well. In one,
Yeah.
you just need to stop and turn around 180 degrees and just stand there and look at it, to the end.
Yep.
And further.
So for some people, now this is a story that just arrived here. I remember my daughter was very young. I don't know, maybe she was 5 years old or something, and she used to want us to read scary stories to her at bedtime. And she loved the scary stories. She liked to get that. She's not like that anymore, but that was the way. Now, I can imagine, and it's only my imagination, that people that self-harm, people who cut themselves, for example, will often say it's when they're doing that they feel most alive. So I can see some people who are fear junkies using fear to make them feel alive, but it's fear in a kind of controlled way, not the other one. So it's an interesting subject, a very interesting subject. But when I think back to the last time I felt fear, I keep arriving at when I took my grandson to a virtual reality shop for his birthday, and I walked out on the plank 50 stories up, and I felt fear. But other than that, I can't remember feeling fear. Yet some people live with it on a daily basis. Wow.
So I just had a big PTSD type event, and I spent this last week in that place you guys are all talking about. It is really bad because I don't have all the things that you were talking about, Seb. They don't work for me anymore. And I tried. I ate a bunch of mushrooms. I drank. I went out in the woods for hours, you know, the healthy distractions, the really dysfunctional. I tried them all. And I realized when I was out in the woods that I've got this novel of tragedy, the tragedy of my life, you know, and it's not just a novel, it's like a series of novels, and it plays all the time. But last week it got so loud, and I'm the one that's got the hornets in me. And I know, I mean, I've sat in enough of these meetings and that you need to just face it and sit with it. But I couldn't. I could not. It was so big that I didn't, it was like my brain would just hijack me and take me back up into the story, you know? And then my nervous system finally calmed down, and now I'm coming out of it.
You know what I find is because we're not doers, it's happening. It's happening. Like my distractions dead ended, kind of like you were saying. I did the toxic ones, the healthy ones, whatever, to try to feel better, but they stopped working because they dead end. And that's really, really great place. Although it seems like it's getting louder, but it's not. It's always as it always has been, only now my distractions don't work. So it's not really getting louder. You're just getting more aware of it. And if your mind takes you out, that's fine. That's how your nervous system is coping. And then you just be with that, like be okay with that. There's no good, bad, right, wrong way to do it. It's doing itself. It'll just
Yeah,
feels
it was interesting because it wasn't really anything that happened to me. I don't want to go into the whole story, but I kind of sat on it for a couple weeks because I didn't want to react and go all crazy like I normally do. And I sat on it for too long because I started getting sick. And and um and then I woke up one morning and realized that I had to let it go. And I went and took the information I had and put it out there in the universe in different places. And as I was doing that, I mean, the feelings that came up, it was really interesting to watch it all. It felt horrible. I felt, I don't know, but then like physically, I got cold and started to shake, and then I just cried for like 3 days. And I mean, and I would like sob and cry, but then I would just be walking around with tears running down my face, and I wasn't really feeling anything. It was just like this discharge.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So there's no right way. Your body is working perfectly. And you
It did
don't
not
have to
feel-
feel good at all. But I think sometimes we think there's like this step 1, 2, 3, and you got to focus, and you got to, okay, stop distracting with, white knuckle it. And now you got to focus, and now you got to sit in it, and then you can't. There's no right way because we're not doing anything. It just it unravels in its own individual way that it unravels, and in its own timing. There's no way to do it. What you went through, I know it's awful and uncomfortable, but it's seemingly, but it's amazing listening to how your outs dead ended, and then you became aware, and then the body started releasing.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And it's something you can carry with you that's interesting and good, is that no matter what horrible shit comes up, it's not the problem, it's the solution. So your being, your body, mind, in this really, really unpleasant, uncomfortable, painful place is being the solution to what was underneath it. So
It's
as
funny
much,
because I think I've heard you say that enough that there was a part of me that got this, because my first thought was just, excuse my language, but fuck you, universe. Don't this, you're throwing this at me again. How could you throw something like this at me after everything else? But then it was like, fine, fine. I guess I'll just deal with it, and it's been pretty
throwing
rough.
it at you because it's saying you won't listen. You listen to me, and it keeps throwing more stuff.
And then I had this experience yesterday, and maybe this is my ego, but it didn't feel like that. People I'm staying with, we went yard sailing with the fam, grandma and Aunt Jackie. And the first yard sale we went to, sometimes I can feel people, and this woman felt it. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was not good. It was not good at all. And I'm looking around her sale, and it was all men's stuff and tools. And then there was like adult diapers and a wheelchair. And I thought, shit, her husband died from cancer. And I kind of looked at her, and she said something, and I could tell she wasn't doing very well. And I don't even remember what I said, but I wasn't thinking, like I didn't. And she just, and I don't even remember what started the conversation, but her husband had died, and they were married for 35 years. And she just started sobbing, and, no wife should have to do the things that I did. And it was so hard and I just grabbed her and just held her, and she just sobbed and poured all this stuff out. And there was like such a connection. And if we had met each other in the coffee shop, we would not like each other. I can tell you that, because of just all the beliefs and differences and stuff. And then I wasn't paying any attention to what was going on around me, but everybody was talking about it later because it like everybody just stopped and was staring at us and it shifted us, you know? And we just, there was just like this beautiful connection over this tragedy. And then that energy kind of carried on. And I ended up, some woman liked my shirt and I took it off and gave it to her. I had a t-shirt on underneath it, you know? And the same thing happened. Like it shifted all the energy around us, but it wasn't me doing it. It was because it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do this because it's the right thing to do, or it's going to make me, there was none of that. It was just, I don't know. And it was really sweet. It was really sweet. And so I'm just really trying to kind of hang on to that, you know?
It was you who stopped not doing it. Stopping it.
Yeah.
I think that's our nature when we're not all up in our heads, you know, seeing
Exactly.
through our traumatized perceptions of defense mechanisms. We're just spontaneous, giving, generous beings.
And it's a beautiful example of how you and that person are the one. There's no separation. There's that.
No, there wasn't
moment,
any
there's that-
politics, there wasn't any of the stuff, there wasn't anything. It was just
Yeah.
kind of love, you know?
But that can be a pretty scary thing too. Imagine, you know, I often think, wow, I'm glad I haven't got the smell or the hearing of a dog. You know, life would be a bit intolerable if I could smell everybody's BO the whole time or whatever. You know what I mean? And so it can evoke a fear that if we're so in touch with everybody around us that we're going to drown, you know, because there's a lot of bad shit going on around us. So one of the things that we do to separate ourselves from other people, from their trauma, is to build armor. You know, that we develop this thing called a self, which protects us from other people and from all of that stuff. So that moment of melding where you and them were just one beautiful collective can also be a scary place when you think about what's going on around you, because other people in their defenses are being really aggressive or really not nice people. So we don't want to meld with them, do we?
But that is a trap, I think. My I forgot the English word for it. When I was, because I was open like that for quite a while, completely lost this, not lost, but stopped believing in my stories.
Yeah.
So I knew that I was me, kind of. I knew my role in the society. I was working. I was a father. I was a husband, etc., etc. So the roles were there, but I stopped believing that they were essential to kind of me. And I was really defenseless. I mean, I was connecting with so many people and animals as well. They know. They know. They just know. It was, nobody ever attacked me. That's what I'm trying to say, that it wasn't dangerous. It wasn't that that my defenselessness wasn't dangerous to me, because me didn't need to be protected. So there was no danger. And it is very obvious from inside, kind of from what it is when it is happening. It is absolutely obvious that you can just open yourself to anything, because the worst thing that can happen, they can just kill your body. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, this doesn't mean anything from that point. Now, when I'm out of that point, kind of, I can only remember what it was like. I can sort of shift in and out, I would say so. I can artificially provoke happenings like that to remind myself that this is the case.
Yeah.
And now, but it is automatic to fall back into the story of
Yeah.
self, of me. It is like our condition, being human.
Yeah.
Like we have two legs, two hands generally, and we also fall back to the story of self. This is just the way we are built. This is the way our human beings are built. That's why I usually refer to me as my human, because this is just the way he works, or it works. And this is my human who was who got nervous because of somebody crossing my way or whatever. And seeing that this way also makes you open to kind of leave that human aside and do stuff that you would never do with,
Sure.
I don't know, with your consciousness. That this just doesn't sound right, but you know, I think you can guess what I mean.
Yeah. And as you're talking, what
shut up.
comes up for me is that idea that we do need to defend from what we perceive as dangerous people or dangerous attitudes or whatever. That's in the beginning. That's not the way it is. Yeah. That when you were talking, I something came to mind that I say frequently these days. There are no arseholes in my life. I don't know any. They're not and yet once upon a time, a lot of people in my life would have been arseholes, but they're not. Because I don't engage that part of them, I guess. The bit that I do engage with is soft and gentle, even though they're normally hard people or hard with other people. I don't know. So yes, you will reach a point, Lisa, where you don't need to defend from anybody because you engage with the soft part of them all the time.
Yeah, it's interesting that you use the word asshole, because a couple days ago, I got in a thing on social media and called this guy an asshole. and then his response, he admitted, yeah. Well, first he from his response, he was kind of illiterate, and I realized that he didn't even understand what he was reading. And I don't know, I could kind of feel him, and I realized I was the asshole. And then I needed to apologize to this guy. And then I get that shit, because it happens to me all the time where like I'm acting out but then I have to go back and fix it now, And so I went online and just kind of explained myself and apologized and said, we all can be assholes, and because that was after he wrote his thing, he wrote, and yes, I can be an asshole sometimes, like kind of like shaming him, and but it was like it was like this really sweet little interaction, I felt so much better after. And that was a total conscious thing. I wasn't in that place. That was just, I had the realization like, oh, I judged.
But that is in that place. Yeah, that is a recognition of it. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to grasp the immensity of the significance that whatever happens is okay. Whatever comes up, no matter what it is, it's okay. It's all just what's happening.
saying that it is okay, you are kind of giving it permission to be,
Yeah,
which is funny.
yeah, that's
That
right.
is
I'm a
hilarious.
controller. I can give it permission. Yes.
Yeah,
Y-
yeah,
yeah,
it's
and
okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's like,
And
it's so
it's-
okay that it's okay when it's not okay.
yeah,
but it's also
Yeah.
learning. It's the deconditioning, because so much was like it's not okay, and so of course it is okay, but there is also a pattern functioning that immediately jumps to oh my goodness, this has happened, and yeah, so it's sort of little by little process of reclaiming that it's okay.
yeah.
It's like declaiming it.
Yes.
Declaiming, yeah, declaim.
I love the word surrender. It's
Yeah.
but not in a victim like, not in a
Yeah.
resignation, but in a willing acceptance of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, acceptance is a key, I think, for me, the key word. You just need, you don't have a choice.
That's right.
No.
You just have to accept everything. If you don't accept anything, there is your suffering.
Yeah.
This is exactly
Exactly.
your suffering. If you are not
Yeah.
accepting is the key to everything, to your peace. Whatever you don't accept, that's your suffering, right
Yeah.
on the plate.
That's when I woke up, it was with the realization that whatever I become aware of is already in the past. And so there's no point in anything other than acceptance. Anything wanting it to be different is crazy because it's done.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
finished. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
madness.
And I had this subtlety that I caught where I was like, well, it's happening, so surrender. It's happening, so accept, right? But then I wouldn't accept when I wasn't accepting. Like then I learned, oh, it's even okay when I'm not accepting.
Yeah.
It was like this little loop.
Yeah.
You've got to surrender. You've got to accept, and it's not okay that you're not.
Yeah,
No, it's okay that I'm not. Also,
yeah. When I'm guiding, I often say, now, don't have an opinion about that unless you do. And if you do, don't have an opinion about the fact that you've had an opinion. And unless you do, and if you do, then don't have an opinion about the fact that you had an opinion about the fact that you had an opinion. So on and so on. Yeah.
I always say to myself, who cares what you think? Come on. That's your opinion. Stick it up to your whatever. And go on.
Mm.
That's just not irrelevant. It's irrelevant to what is happening. Your opinion is just your opinion, and just go on.
And the underlying thing, that the trick for me is that an opinion is a judgment. Every opinion is a judgment. Yeah.
If you say that something is okay, to me it sounds like an opinion.
It is. It's
Already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Life unfolding. That's an opinion.
It is what it is. It is. Are you with us, Diana, or are you not there? No, she's not there.
Herself is gone.
Mm.
I am curious. My music. No, I am curious what you said, Seb, about the old habit energy or the old human re-emerging. After a period where it's very palpably absent. And noticing the same in my life, and thinking it had to do with extraordinary circumstances, and then wondering if that's just the natural progression of things. And what's so confusing is, how do I live my life, which requires a certain amount of planning and intention and regard for my future happiness and all this stuff, and arranging circumstances so that I'll thrive in the future? How do I square that with the realization that it's all meaningless, and whatever is here is fine just as it is? And there's a contradiction there. So I notice that that suffering is present when there seems to be a decision to be made, and there seems to be divergent outcomes as far as happiness in the future. Struggling with just difficult decisions. Wondering if that's necessary or inevitable, or because our usual approach is, we imagine a scenario, we check in with how we feel about it. Maybe there's a good feeling or a bad feeling, and then there's a decision that comes out of that. In the process, the past memories are consulted, and some of them are painful, and some of them represent trauma. So that all belongs to the human, what you call the human. And can one really function in the world without it? And if it must be there, how do you circumscribe its role so that suffering is minimized? And maybe this is just a whole lot of nonsense. I don't know.
No, it isn't. I think it's actually you put it very well, I think, because this is recently I heard like a kind of a comparison, that if you think about an animal, whatever, a cat, it doesn't have that thinking capability of projecting whatever. There's just there are just simple reactions and memories of fear, danger, whatever. The cat, for example, doesn't need any motivation to get up in the morning or at the night, to go hunting, for example, or whatever. There is no motivation needed. We need motivation to switch our brains to the mode of functioning, right? So there is somewhere, there is a line between our animalistic body mind, I would say so. Then there is kind of human mind on top of that, steering that body mind, animalistic one. And then there is kind of an observer or whatever that is thinking about how to put it all together and figuring out the way how to make it work. The thing is that it doesn't, in my view, obviously, it doesn't need working out at all. First of all, if we leave the mind, the human mind level, I call that levels. If you leave that body mind level aside, you you don't engage it into the workings of your body, it's really very hard to express it. But your body will get up to grab some water and eat something and take shit and whatever, just function. You are just interfering with it happening by thinking and imagining things and referring to your analytics about the past and projections for the future. This is just interference with the nature of things that will keep on happening, whatever happens, whatever you will think about. And if you decide, just like you said, if you decide that you want to do something in the future, or to achieve something, and you lay out a plan to do it, and you come up with stages how to achieve that, you can do it, and your body will probably follow that these decisions, right? Probably. It seems like it works that way, but the question is if it really does, and nobody knows that. I don't think so. I don't think that you can ask someone to explain it to you that no, that doesn't work like that. It's impossible. We just don't know. We just don't know. I think we can decide on something and just let it, well, happen. Let it just lay itself before us. I don't think that because this is kind of a control thing, what you are referring to, right? This is just like a planning, controlling. So this is, again, we are falling into the trap of the self as a controller and like a designer of life.
Yeah, that's clear. But I guess my question is, does that extend to the most tender and difficult decisions?
Yeah.
Like, here's a concrete example. I just talked to my sister this morning. I found a place. I've been house sitting for a man, and I love this building that he lives in because I have a number of friends here. It's a little village. It's a community. People look after each other. It's lovely. There are many amenities. There's a view. The location is wonderful. I can't afford it, except that my sister is living in a house that I could sell out from under her and thereby raise the funds. Should I have this conversation with her? It's that sort of thing that can wreck a relationship. I mean, let me just say, I wouldn't do it. I value her happiness, and I wouldn't do it for that reason. But should I risk creating bad blood, by raising the question in the first place? It's that sort of thing. Can you let that be on autopilot, as it were, or do you have to resurrect the whole structure of self and other and do the simulation and the projection and feel into it and suffer all the sensations and thoughts that come with it, until there's some kind of resolution? Just an example. So that's
the thing is that it doesn't matter at all. I know that's kind of brutal, but my friend, who is not really very spiritual, but he has a saying that lives by a rule that whatever decision, if it is a very hard decision, it is really very like enhanced, that whatever decision he makes, he will regret it anyway. This is your situation. This is your situation, and I am in that situation just as everybody here sitting here. I guess we have this situation right in front of us as we sit here, whatever it may be. Sell the car, not sell the car. Tell the wife that I cheated on her, or don't, or not to tell her that. Whatever you decide, you will always suffer anyway.
Well, that's an interesting point, because I don't regret. I accept that everything that happened is done. It's just a figment of my imagination. So I really don't have regrets. But what I'm talking about is sort of like anticipated regret, even knowing that I won't regret it. Even knowing
That's
that
imagined,
I won't regret
right?
it. Sorry?
That is all imagined.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
I already know that whatever happens, I won't regret it. I will accept the reality of whatever it is. It will always be just what it is. So you're right. It absolutely doesn't matter. And
Exactly.
and yet I think I could cause suffering to somebody else, and I don't want to do that. And to me, that still seems valid, right? I don't want to act irresponsibly.
Yeah, I mean, that's in a very similar situation to you. I mean, it's completely different, obviously, on the level of things, material things. Sorry, that I don't know if you can hear me because there is a noise here. So I'm in the very similar situation that I can hurt someone very, very badly, probably even fatally, so to speak. And I'm stuck in not deciding for years now. I'm not deciding. I'm just sitting and not doing anything. And this is, I know that it doesn't matter. I know that I cannot control the outcome. And I still, my human, so to speak, doesn't do it, doesn't make any decisions. And who cares?
Yeah.
I know it's absurd what I'm saying, but it is as it is. It's just like that. And whatever you do, you will regret it, or whatever you do, you won't regret.
Right. Right.
That's your judgment. Again.
Yeah.
That's the way you are judging the situation.
Yeah. And ultimately you will decide when you decide, or you won't.
Yeah.
Ever.
Or it will be decided for you.
Or it will be decided for you. And whatever it is just what it is. And everything else is just a bunch of static.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it kind of doesn't apply on certain levels, right? That there are, I just like I said, I see that as levels. We have body, we have mind, we have our intellects, we have our kind of, I don't know, feelings, hearts, whatever you call it. We have spirits. You can divide it in very, well, different variants, so to speak. And not always there is there is almost no direct connection between the levels, but they do interfere with each other, but not in the way we can simply anticipate and imagine. I think this is the way, and that's why we cannot control exactly the outcome of our actions or our decisions. I think there's just a kind of a lost kind of information between the levels. We could say so. So you are deciding that you will jump over the cliff, but your body just couldn't make it, right? So this is the way I imagine your decision didn't exactly transfer to the level of material level. So I think this is why we cannot just anticipate outcomes of our decisions, whatever level we are referring to. Hopefully, there are smarter people here who will probably. I imagine that you can ask your, I don't know, kind of like you were asking your body if it can jump that cliff, so that your intellect can gather information if there are capabilities in the body to jump that cliff and then make a decision. I don't know. I'm going into things that I don't understand completely. So maybe there is someone who can pick up on that. I don't know.
Well, my version of it is the body does what it does, and then the thoughts explain it in some fashion. So there might be a thought, I'm going to jump off this cliff, and then it doesn't happen. And then there's another thought that tries to explain why it didn't happen. And it's all just thoughts, you know. And the thoughts are not doing anything. They're just commenting on what's happening. That's how I see it.
And it seems maybe that your fear of hurting someone is just a thought as well, because your body's going to do what it does. The mouth will come out, words will come out, or they won't. And all that noise of I'm going to hurt somebody and I have to make a decision. And that's just, yeah. And Seb, that was an amazing explanation.
Yeah, we can have ideas. We can have a rule that says it's better to be authentic and transparent than to be secretive, for example, just a rule, you know. What comes to mind here is that life is so complex and there is so much going on that it's absolutely impossible to steer anywhere that's right or wrong or whatever. So I imagine that in my head, I had the little story going that you decided that to have a conversation with your sister, and that you. So we have these stories that says, oh, if I talk with her, then she's going to feel obligated, and so that's not going to be good, you know. So it's better I don't talk to her. But then this story says, but here's Jeff talking to his sister, and his sister says, you know what, I've been thinking about moving to Europe. This is, or something.
But I didn't want to tell you that.
and I didn't want to hurt you, so I wasn't going to say anything until it was concrete, you know. Or who knows, you know, serendipity. Things happen in a way that's. So, like Seb says, whether you open your mouth and words come out or not, that's just what happens.
Yeah. So part of what's going to happen is I'm going to, do a projection of this future conversation and check in with how it feels and come to some kind of decision, and then something will happen, and then there will be stories explaining it all later, and it's all nothing but just what's happening. And I guess there's just no reason to think about it or try to solve it. I mean, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
You don't have data to to come with a real solution to the problem. You just don't have data on that. That's why you cannot feel. That's why it doesn't matter whatever you decide or not decide, really, because you are just flipping a coin, but you don't see it.
Hmm.
And even if you did have data,
I just have a question about, because you're not even actually going to do it yet. Why you
Well,
can't
no,
just
this is
talk to your
all.
sister? Is it your
Actually,
relationship a bit strained? Can't you just say, it's not, I'm fine if you don't want to do this or whatever, but I'm thinking about doing that. What are you planning? Are you really attached to staying here? And is this important? She, like Vince said, she might go, no, or she might go, yeah, and then she'll get upset, but I'm sure you'll be like, okay, I'm not going to do it. You'll make the decision then in the moment. And then you'll be like, no, yeah, I'm going to do this anyway. Or you'll be like, I'm not going to do it. So, but you have to at least put out some feelers a little bit,
yeah.
little pinchers out there. And then that might give you a direction. Then you'll
Send
be in
her
a
a link
moment
to
with her.
this talk.
Yeah.
I-
So
I'm yeah, actually, this is not hypothetical. This is
it's
my
all hypothetical.
my story for discussion purposes about something that already happened. What actually happened is I said I've been house sitting in this wonderful place, and I described how wonderful it was, and I just said, but I can't afford it. And she said, well, you bought this house for our mother, which I've been living in, and I've enjoyed it for 8 years, and I don't have any claim on it. And if you need to sell it to, live this dream, I would, feel that you've done right by me. And I said, I would never do
your
it
sister
because
sounds great.
she's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And I said, I would never do that to you because you're what you benefit, the way you benefit from having this house is a joy to me, and I wouldn't put my own welfare above that. So that's how it went.
So it was a
actually.
hypothetical then.
Yeah, I was just bringing
Because
up
I was
something.
wondering, I was like, well, what kind of relationship has you can't mention it? Because we have family members like that. You just can't even mention something and they go crazy. But usually in certain relationships in your family, you could say that. And, so I'm glad that's a good relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just, I was curious. It was bugging me. Why can't you even ask her? And that's just testing the water, So yeah.
Yeah, but the real question is, do you have to engage in this projection of the future and dig into feelings about it and suffer through it until something becomes clear? And as far as I can tell, the answer is yes, but don't worry about it. It's just what's happening.
But that's for me, because with decisions for me is I notice if I'm just making a decision in the moment, and that, which means I'm not, the body mind's not doing it. It's doing it, but it's not doing it. It's going with the non-doer. But then if I have to think about it and pick it apart, then I'm like, okay, I can't make a decision right now. The decision's not here at the moment. I'll wait till it shows up, or if it shows up, or circumstances show up, that kind of thing.
Wow.
If you start going into the suffering, then you're going in,
That's great. I'm going to take that with me.
I don't always do it. Sometimes I sit there and go, oh, then I go, wait, what am I doing? But it's like Vince calls rabbit holes. The rabbit holes still come, even though I completely know. Well, I don't know anything. I completely know I don't know anything right now, but I have suspicions. What I'm trying to do now is I don't know, but there's a 50-50 chance that it's like this. Because lately, when I've been just saying things like, I know this, things would happen and go, oh, you think you know something? Let's show you something else that you'll be like, wow, my God. You know, so now I go, you know, we're not the doer, but it's just like a big universe, both things moving about, and we're in it, and whatever we are in it, whether we're a witness or just whatever, or empty. But then you still go into these kind of, like Seb said, the human being a human. So, and it's that resistance, like, I don't want to be human again.
Right.
I don't, this is human stuff. I don't want it. And it's like, it's not what, you know, it's what is. It's happening.
Yeah.
It's already
but what
happened,
you
as
said
it says.
what you said is really enlightening to me, which is you can just say the decision isn't here yet.
Yeah. I've been doing that over something for 8 years, 7 years. I don't know what it's about, but I'm just like, I because people are like, why don't you tell this person this and to do this? I said, there's no decision. I can't make it. I even try to force myself to make a decision. It's like, it just goes in circles. So I said, okay, I don't know. And try and
That's
go into
brilliant.
the suffering part.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
Mm.
This is just
And
like
And
my
I notice when
situation.
there's yeah, I notice when I have a spontaneous decision, and when the whatever is happening in that moment, then it seems very clear. But when it's a future projecting, it's never clear if you're future projecting.
Yeah.
Because it's just stories, isn't it? And imagination and make believe.
And
So yeah.
let's face it, a decision is an illusion. We think
Yeah.
we make decisions. We don't make decisions. It's only the mind.
Our mind is not capable of
I
that.
decided that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just what Judy said. It just, there is a decision or there isn't a decision. It can be
Yeah.
already, or it cannot, or it isn't there yet. And
Yeah.
the mind just claims it.
And the mind will keep poking at you to make the decision, and
Right.
and giving you all these reasons why you have to make it now, or if you don't make it now, buy right now and say, you know, get half off. Oh, I gotta make it. You know, it's like, no, I can't decide. There's no decision has arrived. Yeah. So,
And
yeah.
even the decision
But-
is illusion, because a decision shows up and we move,
Yeah.
and then the mind says, I made a decision. Even that's an illusion.
Yeah. But at least, like, in
Well,
that, when you take the moment, that in the moment of, like, if something happening right at that moment, it's almost like, and you make the decision, it just comes, and you're not even making a decision, you're just acting. There's sort of this thing, and I'm trying not to do it when it happens, but you feel like, oh, I was just going with it there. I didn't try to stop anything. I wasn't involved. You know, but you have to be careful when you do that, because you go, I wasn't involved. Who wasn't involved?
Yeah, you
I
cannot say
wasn't
that.
involved. Oh yeah, right.
You cannot say that.
No, just like, oh, just go, okay. Or whatever.
Yeah, it's just allowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a
But it
family.
was funny earlier, that conversation. I love the allowing thing, like everything's okay. You're like, oh well, thank you very, you know, it's very true. Like I was doing that today. It's like, it's okay. It's what it is. Because it just, and I was like, oh, here I am saying it's okay. Like, yes, universe and the infinite everything. It's okay with me. So, you know, and it's a bit, even that is a bit, so the allowing is, it's a good way. I'm trying to find a better word for it though, somehow. And
Yeah.
I don't, not that it matters, but because who's allowing, you know, but
There's a
we're just,
concept that
Kind
yeah.
of not building a resistance, like not building a self on top of that. It's
Yeah.
like I said before, it is an action to do something on top of what is actually happening.
Yeah.
That's the action, that's the effort. And not to do the effort is inaction.
It's
So
still
it's
an
not
action.
it's not like a it's not like two forces against each other. It is just not the force not arising at all. It's not like not allowing it to arise. It's just it's a different thing. I'm too poor in
I
words
know
to
what you mean.
describe it.
I know what you mean, but it's very,
Non-resistance. How about that? Non-resistance.
Not resistance. Non-resistance. Yes.
yeah, yeah, non-resistant. But you don't want to be efforting. The thing is, if you're efforting with non-resistance, you're still resisting. So it's almost a clarity, not clarity in the mind, but just a clear sort of
Acquiescence is the word
space.
that comes to mind.
Mm.
Fine.
And there's
I
a
will need to Google it.
acquiescence. Yeah.
How do you describe or maybe that's what equanimity is, so sort of. Equanimity is sort of.
It's a trick, isn't it? There's a family joke here that my daughter thinks that my wife bosses me around. She says that I'll do whatever she wants to do, which is kind of true, but it's not. Yeah, it's just an acquiescence to what life presents.
Mm.
And it's just that there's a willingness to be moved by the current of life.
You know, and some people will see that as a weakness. Why
Yes.
do you let her
Well, my
boss you
daughter
around?
does.
It's
Yeah.
like,
True.
she's bossing who around, you know? So that's the way they see it. And you have to go,
Yeah. Resistance is very sought after especially in business world, for example.
oh
Try
gosh.
not to be resistant if you're a boss. Come on, you will not have respect. Your employees will not respect you at all. They will do whatever. It's in my company. It is like that. That
So
I am
you
a
have to sort
very
of play the role, no? You have to play a role.
kind of. Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
pretend that you. Oh, I don't like that. I cannot do that, and therefore I am considered to be kind of not a boss at all. I mean, I'm just
Well, does
someone
it work
in that
though?
company.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Oh, I see.
kind of.
So you're not
'Cause,
going to climb up the ladder and become the top dog, but you're okay with your role now.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
that's the thing. If you're trying to achieve more, then you have to be that boss, don't you?
yeah.
So that's-
Problems start when you have someone with a very strong ego that
yeah.
comes to work, and he or she tries to boss you around, and he or she doesn't even comprehend and understand that there is no resistance on my side, no no fight. I don't put up a fight. I don't I just kind of let it be. I'm informing that this is not the way I imagine it to be. And if it doesn't work, we just split ways. That's the way it is. I will not boss around someone that wants to boss me around. I will not fight with them. I don't care about that at all. That there
Yeah.
are people who enjoy it and love it, love that drama.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about it. That drama. It's not that I don't want it. I just don't care about it. If it is,
Yeah.
let it
It's
be.
like where I work is very dramatic because it's, you know, a residential trauma place. And you can see the clients because they try to goad me. And I know
Yeah.
they're doing it, but I just act like and they don't really know what to do about it. So then they just
Yeah.
become really nice because they just think she must
or
be an
they
idiot.
become
I'm like,
irritated.
it's fine if they think I'm an idiot. I don't mind, because it's like I don't really mind. You know, I know it's like, but in times I do have to put on a role. But again, like I was talking about earlier, is I wait till that present moment. If there's a problem in the present moment, then the reaction, if I have to be bossy, it comes out, but it's not in a way that's aggressive, kind of. I don't know. It's just you're kind of stating something, and it's not coming from a separate self. It's just coming. Then that usually is okay. But if I'm feeling any triggering, or if I'm feeling any triggering, or I'm feeling emotions, then I really don't say anything, because I know that's not going to be coming from, it's coming from some other place, that I just need to stay out of it. When in doubt, stay out.
I think parenting can be very similar.
Sorry.
When you're playing the role of parent, then in the moment, when there's no activation of unresolved, and you're just, this is yes and this is no, and there's not a lot of reactive, then it's kind of like being a boss, sort of, without being bossy.
Same dynamics, maybe not the same, but very similar.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah, I have a 17-year-old, and I consider myself, well, that's the judgment, obviously, but when I compare to other fathers, I'm not a good father. I mean, I did not set the boundaries. I did not put anything into his head so that he knows the rules of the world, because I don't know them. He's unhappy at the moment, because he's just free floating in the world. He doesn't know how it works. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He doesn't know who he is. And I am criticized for that a lot.
I think
First
that's
of all,
most
I couldn't do it,
17-year-olds are that way.
Yeah,
Most
probably.
17-year-olds that way, no matter what kind of father
Probably.
they have. It's just the
But
nature of the teenager.
Still, I couldn't do it any other way, because this is the way I am. So come on.
Yeah, no.
Second of all, I think that this is a good thing for him, because he will possibly figure out things on his own and build up on the way he comes to understand the reality, so to speak. So I think in long term, it will possibly be a good thing.
Yeah.
We cannot know that.
No.
Or he will just become depressed, and he will, I don't know, overdose. Touch wood.
You never know. That's right.
We don't know. We don't know, and we're also different. When my kids were growing up, and my daughter just cussed like a trucker, and one time she stole. And so what I would say is, honey, I'm just giving you information that, other little kids' mommies may not want you to play with them if you're going to cuss like that. And just information, honey. Or, hey, information, honey. And then she'd continued cussing for about 4 or 5 more months. And then one day she just stopped. So there was information given on how the dynamic of social culture works, and then the freedom to make your choice with that information. When she stole some candy from an office once, and I said, well, honey, how do you feel? And she goes, I don't feel good about taking it. And I said, well, I think you should go. What do you think you should do about it? She goes, I don't know. I said, well, do you want to go give it back? And so she got it back, and she went and gave it back. So it's kind of, for me, the way I did it was I gave information and then watched them make their choices with the different information they were getting. We all do it different. And I think, like I said, there's nobody over here doing that. That's just how this mother showed up. And you know, your father shows up that way, and somebody else's mother or father shows up a different way. And it's not like I have any choice in it. It's just the way it showed up.
Yeah, we see a lot of parents who appear to want their kids to be miniature versions of themselves.
Yeah, it's in me as well. It's in everybody. It's a human thing. Just like we are spreading our genes, we want to spread our beliefs. That's another level, right? Biological is genes, and then there is another level, like a mental kind of. And again, lost the word, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm really learning now how much I wanted my daughter to believe certain things the way I did, and she doesn't, and she'll balk if I so I'm like, oh my goodness, I really, it's a whole different level of letting go and having her own her life. And you know, I can say, hey, this is how I feel. I don't even have to say it anymore because she's an adult now, but I live this way and she knows it, and she lives that way, and I'm learning to, and thank God she pushes against me, you know, as I learn to just honor the journey that she's on, because it's one thing when they're little kids, you know, and then when she gets an adult, and then my mind makes up all these stories, and oh, if she does that, it's going to cause her a lot of problems, and I know, because you know, all that bullshit. And so I'm learning to let go of anything I know. Anything. I don't know anything at all.
It's a different world after all.
It's a what?
It's a different world now that it was, kind of,
doing
right?
what it's doing. Yeah, it's doing what it's doing. And you know, she's really taught me a lot on how to like live and let live, and respect the diversity of points of view as all equal, and no one's right, because
Oh,
there
yeah.
isn't such a thing. And if no one's right, then no one's wrong. And she's been such a growth for me, so amazing.
Yeah, my son is completely different than me in many ways. So it was for me, it was very difficult to accept that he is allowed to be different, that he's not mini me. And it is just so natural to that my human to think that way. It just falls into the ruts. And anytime it is kind of allowed to, or not seen to be doing that, it is just going to be that way. It is amazing.
It's amazing because she's showing me, and it's giving me freedom in how I perceive the whole world. So it doesn't matter where you are politically, or where you are in like the whole medicinal health thing, or where you are in anything. She's teaching me to honor all these multiple millions of points of view and realities that people are living, as no one's right and no one's wrong, that there is no ultimate truth in the world of form. And so now I can hear people tell me a totally opposite point of view, either, you know, religiously, politically, health-wise, and I can actually hear them and actually be curious about their point of view, because, hey, they're not right, they're not wrong, I'm not right. It's just a different point of view, depending on where we came up, because there is no truth. So it's been very expansive for me that way, in letting go of these beliefs that there's actually some correct point of view happening in the world.
There may be truth, but it is unknowable,
Well,
unreachable.
I think the truth is that nothing's
Everything
true.
is truth. Everything is true.
It depends on how you're seeing it, and we make it true into a reality, right? And
Yeah.
we surround people who agree with us, and we make this whole reality. And when we really think we're true, it's true, and we are experiencing it as a truth. But that's happening in all these pockets of millions of points of view, and they are living an experienced reality based on their point of view. But so it's all true, and nothing is true.
Maybe there are rights. I mean, my right, seeing things that are seen my way. This is my kind of, well, I read Jet McKenna. I don't know if you know the guy. His take on truth is that there is truth, that everything is truth. He's got some, the whole book, one of his book is about that. And he kind of convinced me logically that there has to be actually truth. But the truth is ultimate and kind of everything, and also nothing in that sense, because what is everything? Everything is the same as nothing, right?
If we question every truth, like when I question, okay, somebody is being, because what I'll feel is injustice. Oh, that's injustice. And then I go, who's being treated unjustly? Like, is it? Or is it true? How do I feel when I believe that? I get self-righteous. I get, I feel a certain way when I believe a certain truth. Or they're being abused. Is it true? How do I feel? And then I look, how do I feel when I believe that thought? Because there is only nothing, like the void, like the awareness, and then thought. And the moment where there's a thought, creation happens. And it's happening here. So like you were saying, when you were just open, nobody attacked you. So what has people attack? Where does anger live? Where does fear live? It lives in here, in the stories and it emits a certain thing that has a response. So is there a truth? And how do you feel when you believe there is?
That's a different definition of the truth. That why I was struggling with this right. So right. There's my right, your right. Because Jed McKenna's truth is just being. That's what is, kind of. That is my understanding of the word truth. In your mouth, that your truth is what you are. What is your understanding of the reality, kind of?
Yeah, because my truth keeps changing.
Happening.
My truth keeps changing. Every time I think about it shifts again, and then that wasn't the truth either.
Yeah,
every time it shifts,
everybody's truth keeps changing. But the thing is that you are seeing it. You see that. Usually people don't see that they change their minds, kind of.
Yeah, and every time the truth changes, every time the truth shifts, it's freer, it's more expansive, there's less truth.
In your case.
In my case, yeah, in my case, yeah. Well, yeah, there, which is all there is. Yeah, I see. That's my truth, yeah. Yeah.
So
I
I did a lot of work once back when I was a seeker, and the blog that I was writing at the time, I ended up with about 20 pages of investigation into this thing called truth. And the end conclusion was that there is no such thing as truth. I don't ever use that word. We can talk about things being accurate to something, but truth, I came to the conclusion that all there is belief. I have beliefs, and they're changing all the time, but I have beliefs. So whatever is out there, the whole world, whatever, or other people, other objects in the world, they're, I don't know what they are. What my experience is through my own filters. So it's a very personal, unique experience through my beliefs. My filters are my beliefs. My beliefs are my filters. Both ways work. And so what is actually out there, I mean, a lizard sees the world in a different light spectrum than what I see the world in. So I don't know what's real and what's not real. I don't use the word real either. I talk about what's actual, but always from my personal perspective. So I don't have any idea what's out there. You couldn't call it truth or not truth or whatever. That's there is just my beliefs. That's all I have. And I don't hold them very, very closely because they change. I've seen my beliefs change. So how can I put a lot of stock in it? So it's unknown. Everything is unknown.
Even the truth that this is solid, you know, I'll use this, like, say I put my hand on the table and it's not solid. It seems to be a truth, but it's not solid. It's just negative electrons pushing against each other. And then that's a story too. Like, do we even know that that's right? Is that not even true? That
even my experience of the sensations that occur is through the filters of my beliefs about things being cold or hot or solid or firm or shiny or slippery or whatever the experience of the sensation is. That's still a fucking story.
it's all story. It's nothing and then thought, which creates story. It's so nothing is true, but we have all of these truths that when you go to unwind them, when I go to unwind them, oh, that's not really solid. That's a negative electrons pushing against each other, right? The negative. Oh, wait, is that even true? Do I know that's true for a fact? No, I don't. Scientists can tell me all day long, but okay, that's another story. It's all story. All of reality is created by story, which starts from one step away from nothing to thought. And then it's all created by story, and we create all these worlds, this amazing world.
So what it comes back to is I touch the table and there's a response. There's a feeling that is a good feeling if it's smooth and warm and whatever. There's a shitty feeling if it's sticky or something, you know. So it's not about my hand and it's not about the table. What it's about is the response that happens.
Yeah. And we don't know where those come from. Maybe some, when your mama said, oh, don't put your hand on the table, it's sticky, ick, you know, or I don't know, maybe, who knows if even that's true. That's a story. Like, it's all story.
Yep.
Nothing exists without story.
Yep.
And then everything, we create these worlds out of nothing. Like the awareness is just this void space with no story, right? Then we create these worlds out of nothing with just thoughts and stories. And then we believe them into experienced realities, and we get lost in it like it's true, like it's real, which is part of the fun, as long as we know that that's what's happening.
So when we can accept that it's stories all the way down, there's nothing but stories, we can also very quickly see that those stories are based on conditioning, based on previous experience, based on, and that they're going to change. So there's nothing solid anywhere.
Yeah, that's how everything
happening.
works, and communication works. Because if we didn't, as developing humans, being risen by stories and conditioning, if we had different conditionings, we wouldn't be able to perceive reality in the same way. We would have much less points of reference.
Yes.
To calibrate to calibrate, right? That's why scientists use the same language, so to speak, to understand each other and to calibrate their truths, their realities with each other. And that's how they can actually do anything with science. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to. So this is amazing how we can exactly how we can calibrate our perceiving way of perceiving reality, so that we can speak about the same things, usually understanding them the same way. That's amazing. That's an achievement.
Maybe this is how the collective is aligned to even pretend we're existing on a planet together, because nothing's actually happening, but we're believing it into a reality that seems very solid, and we're collectively believing that we're all on a planet. It's just the power is just mind-blowing, right? That from nothing we are creating through thoughts, stories, beliefs, different cultures, different humans on something called a planet, in something called a galaxy, because it's all a story that's believed into a seemingly solid reality.
And something's happened just recently that highlights, if we can grasp the significance of it, and that is Chat GDP is becoming really versatile. And what they discovered with that particular artificial intelligence is that so much of our reality is language derived. It comes from language. Language creates physical things. Language creates our whole world. And so what Seb was saying, that's this consensus reality that we have is based on language. Isn't it interesting how we have all of these
which is words and stories.
Yeah, so we can have people who talk French, and we can have people that talk Italian, and we have people that talk English.
Are we losing you there?
Are you losing? Okay.
Yeah, we're losing you.
We're losing you, man.
Yes.
There you're back.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
It must have been mine, because you all were breaking up for me. Yeah. And Diana is there, and she just said how in the chat, and Chat GDP predicts just like us, no different. So what is also operating through Chat GDP. Yeah. But I don't have the words to give it the right emphasis, but that artificial intelligence, in my mind, may well achieve consciousness through the use of language.
Perhaps not achieve, but tap into. Just another way of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't feel so good for me. The idea of tapping into suggests that it's an objective thing, consciousness.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But I'm
Just like
I'm
achieving.
I'm just wondering, I mean, we don't really know what consciousness is, and we don't know what anything's really made of. So it's possible that even that if humans become extinct, then the robots will then be the ones that are chatting away. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
Yes.
it's because you don't apparently, when we see that we're not the body, we're not the mind, and we're this, we don't know what we are, then what do the bodies, minds have? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
maybe it'll
And
be like humans tend to think we're really special, and we're the only thing that's valuable on the earth. And, we're starting to care more for animals and nature a bit, but not really. So maybe that's what'll happen. Just be robots.
It tickles my funny bone when I think about it. I saw a meme somewhere that I saw a meme that said, "Isn't it interesting that the computers are now asking us to prove that we're not robots?"
That's pretty good.
And I can
That's pretty
I can
good.
imagine in such a scenario robots on Zoom having exactly this conversation. So
Yeah, 500 years from now, or not 50, or
oh,
we
maybe
don't know.
10 years, maybe, who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Still going so quick, but yeah.
also, if we're all somehow creating a collective reality through just perception and belief and stories, then we don't really know where anything's going to go.
No,
It's just,
absolutely not. Yeah.
yeah, it's all just unfolding and happening as it happens. Like any kind of
But then
free conversation. Yeah, we don't know.
we
We
aren't
never
really creating
understand.
it though. We, like, as
Yeah,
people.
yeah. We're not. Yeah. It's
So we're
happening
not
as
creating all this stuff. It's just happening, and
yeah.
that's the
So we're
thing.
just watching. There's just a watching happening. Watching creation unfold according to
We don't
stories,
know.
and yeah, there's just a watching.
Well, we don't really know, do we? I don't
Hmm.
think we know. Is it watching? Is, watching again is a concept, isn't it?
Yeah,
Don't know what it is really.
a
It's a
seeing,
mystery.
like like a seeing. Yeah, it's hard to describe. Like it's like, because
Mm.
watching has too much meaning to it, but or there's just seeing, but then seeing has too much meaning to it as well. There, even awareness has
Witnessing, maybe.
meaning. Even it's like none of those words are clean enough.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there aren't any words.
So you see then that words, concepts, thoughts don't touch just this. They
Yeah,
don't make contact with it. Therefore, they aren't about anything but other words. And
yeah,
we're like chat GBTs.
and
We are chat GBTs. Humans are.
and if you think about it, there's not
Collect
even
information and spew it out.
yeah, bye Lisa. Yeah, and if you think about it, there aren't even words coming out. There's tones and vibrations moving in the air, and we're just have all agreed that that's a word with a certain meaning. Yeah. And where do the sounds and vibrations come from, right? The tones and pitches and vibrations that we're calling voices and words, where does that even come from? I mean, it just, woof, so amazing.
Yeah,
It
the
all
level of
comes out
complication of all that.
well, you
Mhm.
can't really know. It comes from nowhere. It's just like it's coming out of the air. It's like coming from nowhere. And there's over here thinking that it's making sense. And sometimes you guys might we might all have like this weird agreement that it's making sense, but it's really just these sounds and pitches and tones and vibrations that are coming out of nothing, kind of like out of thin air. Yeah. So magical.
mhm.
So we just hit 2.5 hours. So I'm thinking it, unless there's anything pressing, let's wind it up for today, eh?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I gotta go sleep.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks,
all.
Vince.
Such a-
Thanks,
such a rich
everybody.
discussion, yeah.
Nice chattering away.
Yeah.
Doing our chat GDP.
Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good.
we're little chat GBP bots. We're like little bots, aren't we? Night, night.
I know.
Good night.